Joy Taylor. Dynasties come out of nowhere in sports. And we thought the Miami Heat, LeBron, D-Wade, Chris Bosh, going to last forever. That lasted 1/3 of the San Antonio Spurs. The Golden State Warriors, let's start with dynasties. The Golden State Warriors dynasty. Now think about this. They lost to the Clippers in the first round, right? Following year, best team ever, number 1 seed title, never looked back. Came out of nowhere. Tom Brady, Belichick. Belichick been fired in Cleveland. He was 5-11. Tom Brady comes in for an injured Drew Bledsoe, 18-year dynasty. Both came out of nowhere. Coach K at Duke, he was barely 500 as a head coach at Army. Joe Torre was an announcer on television for the California Angels. He had a losing major league record. He got the Yankee job. They won 4 out of 5 World Series. Probably the best baseball teams ever. They come out of nowhere. Marvel, the number 1 movie, what would you call it, franchise in the world, is Iron Man, Marvel Studios, led by Robert Downey Jr. He plays Iron Man. Robert Downey Jr. was doing occasional guest spots on Ally McBeal and was in and out of rehab. He now makes $80 million a movie. Amazon sold books. They now rule the world in retail. Netflix sent you DVDs in the mail. They're the number 1 disruptor in American television history. Pete Carroll was considered a joke hire at USC. Dabo Swinney was a wide receiver coach at Clemson. The Red Sox didn't win a title for 85 years. They now have 4-14 and are favored next year. Dynasties come from nowhere. You're like, I don't under... The Indianapolis Colts at the start of next year will be on a 10-year dynasty. The Indianapolis Colts have the best young general manager in football, a star quarterback now on a very reasonable contract, 9 draft picks. Van Der Esch is not the best young linebacker in football. Darius Leonard of the Colts, a rookie, led all players in tackles by a wide margin. Their offensive line is the best young offensive line in football. They have $100 million in cap space and arguably the best general manager in the sport. Andrew Luck went 11-5, 11-5, 11-5 with no support. Since week 6 to 7, he finally got healthy, and they've won 9 of 10. By the way, of the quarterbacks that attempted the most passes this year, Big Ben, Luck, Ryan, Cousins, Rodgers, Case, 1 made the playoffs. Folks, this roster is young, cheap, talented, in a division with, let's be honest, dysfunctional Tennessee, who may need another quarterback, historically chaotic Jacksonville, who does need another quarterback, and talented Houston, who always seems to underachieve. Your division does matter. They have dominated Tennessee. They really dominate mostly Houston, and who trusts Jacksonville? I don't know if they're going to beat Houston this weekend. I'm not sure if they are. It's asking a lot to go to a place like Houston twice in about 5-6 weeks and win both times. Houston's got a good coach, a great defense, better older veteran players, and Deshaun Watson's good. And they'll be on the road again. But you didn't see the Warriors coming. You didn't see Robert Downey coming. You didn't see Dabo Swinney coming. You didn't see Joe Torre coming. You didn't see Coach K winning 500 of his percent at Army coming. You didn't see 6th-round Tom Brady and Belichick fired in Cleveland coming. Here it comes. You better beat them this weekend. You better beat them this weekend, because I'm telling you, New England's reign, Brady's not getting younger, and Pittsburgh's dysfunctional, and the Chargers like them, Houston like them, don't always really trust them. Watch out. Here it comes. Joy Taylor with the news.
No.
Turn on the news. This is the Herd Line News.
Well, that's a perfect transition, Colin. The 2018 NFL regular season is over, so the lists are now in full swing. Everybody's listing their top players of the season, and Pro Football Focus released their list of the highest-rated quarterbacks. And here they are. Drew Brees comes in at number 1. Patrick Mahomes, number 2. Andrew Luck, we were just discussing, number 3.
Yeah.
Well, look down there, number 9. He snuck in the top 10 there. Baker.
So Big Ben is not a top 10 quarterback, but Baker Mayfield is.
Well, look, this is Pro Football Focus's rating system. I don't know that I disagree with that. I think Aaron Rodgers is is a little high there, considering how their season went.
So Big Ben's not a top 10 quarterback in the league. I just want to get that official. Deshaun Watson.
I told you, Matt Ryan did very well for me fantasy this year.
Are we all sure that Deshaun Watson's not as good as Jared Goff and Matt Ryan? Are we sure about that? And when I'm watching, it seems to me Deshaun Watson is every bit as good as Jared Goff, Matt Ryan, and Baker Mayfield.
Do you have a problem with Patrick Mahomes being rated above Andrew Luck?
Yeah, but it's not. I'm not going to lose sleep. I think Patrick Mahomes is really, really, really. Listen, I've said this. Of all the young quarterbacks out there, there are 3 right now that are different. Andrew Luck is different. Carson Wentz's talent is different. Patrick Mahomes' arm is different. Those guys are just different than everybody else.
You know, it's kind of weird because we don't apply this rule to the NBA, obviously, but I think everyone's forgetting this is technically Patrick Mahomes' rookie season.
It is, yes. No, he's great.
I mean, he didn't play last year. I mean, one game, but
listen, you know I like Patrick Mahomes. I like Andrew Luck more. I think we fall for the hot, new, cool, doesn't look when he throws. But Mahomes is really good.
You know the genius of the no-look pass is you can actually see. You're just making people think that you're looking in another direction.
Oh, is that it? Is that the genius of it?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, you don't get mad when LeBron throws no-look passes.
Well, basketball is different because if it's intercepted, it doesn't mean you lose.
That's fair. All right. Well, depending on the situation. All right. So Ben Roethlisberger, he likes to splash some blame around.
Yes.
Finished the season 9-6-1 and missed the playoffs by a half a game. Yeah. And Ben is back at it. He thinks Le'Veon's holdout is what held the Steelers back.
Oh, okay. All right.
It hurts when you don't have one of the better players in the game, but I think the biggest thing that hurt us is just the distraction. I think on a positive note, I think what we got to see from James Conner and Jalen Samuel, I think we got to see some guys really kind of come into their own and get a glimpse of the future. So I was actually really encouraged with what we saw without Le'Veon there.
You know, I think I'm going to speak some blasphemy here, but we give the Steelers a lot, like the organization, a lot of credit for being stable and committed and historically great. I mean, obviously they have the most Super Bowls ever and all that. Maybe we're giving them too much credit. Maybe I'm giving them too much credit because I hold the Steelers franchise as a whole.
So do I, though.
In the upper echelon of
I think
NFL franchises, and the amount of dysfunction that has followed them for the past couple years is not reflecting that standard.
Yes. No, they've gone sideways. There's no question. But I still think the Rooney family, Colbert, the GM, is Kevin Colbert, the GM, is great. I don't think anybody in the NFL drafts running backs or wide receivers, star players better. They're very good track record of nailing the draft. They're smart. They created the Rooney rule. I think they're good people. They're smart. I do think
historically great. I just think at one point or another, we keep using that as like, well, they are the Steelers. Okay, but what your product that you're putting out is not Steelers.
Well, I think Mike Tomlin is very pro. You know, he had ping pong tables. He had pool tables.
No, you can't come in as the fun guy and then flip the script.
He's a little bit ice cream for breakfast parent, a little bit. Now he's trying to pull back a little. But I think it's still a great organization. They are. You cannot tell me they're not well run. And by the way, Tomlin's won a lot of games, so let's not make it that Tomlin can't coach.
No, but this is what I told you at the beginning of the season. Tomlin is, I think, a great coach. I do think the Steelers organization is a great historical organization. I just think that the standard for the Steelers is higher than, say, the Jags or the Browns or the Texans.
They'll be back.
And that's no offense to those organizations, but it is the Steelers. Like, there is a higher level of expectation. If you don't we're not trying to make the playoffs.
Yes.
It's Super Bowl or it's a complete failure. Yeah. So, to me, I just don't understand how all of this dysfunction is happening.
Oh, I do.
When I know what kind of organization the Steelers are.
Yeah, and they hired a coach who's more of by the way, the Lakers have gone through a lot of coaches. Coaches are humans. They're all different personalities. The Lakers have had rigid coaches. They've had flashy coaches, Pat Riley. They've had young coaches, Luke Walton. The Laker brand's still great, but they've gone through now they've got a young coach who likes the three ball. They had Mike Brown, who was a longtime assistant who really didn't like offense and loved defense. I just think the Steelers hired a coach, and in this day and age, it's very hard when players make $100 million to be super pro enabling player coach. Pete Carroll did it and got rid of guys that made noise, and they got the ship right again.
Well, I will say it's definitely not Le'Veon Bell's fault.
Finally,
it's not. There's been some talk in the past 24 hours about the possibility of the 49ers someday hooking up with Antonio Brown.
Yes.
But there's another report that surfaced that the 49ers could actually be more interested in Odell Beckham Jr. So according to Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk, if the Giants decide to move on from Odell Beckham Jr., the 49ers could pursue him. The 49ers considered during that window last year when Beckham seemed to be available, and there's already buzz this year that if he's available, the 49ers would be interested. Beckham's contract is very tradable. Now, the Giants GM, Dave Gettleman, said this morning, we didn't sign him to trade him, but you can do that do with that what you will.
The Giants have become a very fear-based business. They should have moved off Eli Manning, but they were afraid how it would land, and they should have tried to engineer a trade for Odell Beckham and fix their O-line, which was the worst in the league last year and is slightly better. But they've made decisions based on, how will it land? Will we get ripped? If I was the Giants, Odell Beckham can play in this league. I'm kind of out on diva receivers, but there's value there, and the Giants still have a long way to go. They got some star players, but that O-line is still, at best, average. If you could get a draft pick, if you could get...
Well, you would get a lot for Odell Beckham Jr. And as much as I like seeing Odell in New York, it would be fun to see Odell with Jimmy G.
I'd like to see Odell Beckham with a great quarterback. Yeah, that's what I'd like to see.
Especially in his prime. So I think that the Giants need enough pieces that they should trade him, but whether they will or not, fear-based, I don't think that they will, though.
All right, Joy Taylor with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.